What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video. Please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Also, share this out as well and purchase some of our new merch. Become a member of our channel. Still a process, but we're growing thanks to you guys. Appreciate it. So, the last New York Giants video that I did was the schedule prediction. I believe I predicted New York Giants to go 10-7, and it is still June. We still have a couple of things to get through, a couple of more weeks till training camp, but I might as well tease out the Giants content. Just want to let you guys know as well, in relatance to this video, the roster bubble series is coming back again, and we will be starting that up probably later this week or early next week. I always love doing that. I look into guys that I really don't know about, some guys that may make the roster, some guys that might not make the roster. So it's going to be interesting. And you know what's fun too is that if those guys get cut that I do the profile on, other fans from other teams will look at those guys, look at the video, because let's say, I don't know, David Sills gets cut, he goes to the Browns. Browns fans will look at that video and say, okay, let's see. I don't know much about David Sills. This guy obviously is, profiling him. Let's see what he says. So it's not just for the Giants community, but it's also for other communities who get the cast-off players from our roster. But anyway, just wanted to headline a few things in this video. Really, three main things, and those three main things are 3 position camp battles that I am definitely looking forward to in next month's training camp. And there are more, obviously. I might have another video or maybe even 2 more videos based on positional battles, or maybe even a podcast episode, because obviously once training camp arrives and the preseason begins, the podcast is going to come back. It's going to be a Tuesday, Saturday thing, kind of like we've been doing the last few months when football season has been going along. But let's give it to you right now. 3 positional camp battles that I'm looking forward to and that New York Giants fans should look forward to come training camp. So let's go with 5th, 6th wide receiver. Now, wide receiver is a very crowded position for the New York Giants. There's not necessarily a refined 6, 7 guys right now. There may be 3 guys you're thinking of. Okay, these guys are locks to make the roster. And I think I've said this a lot. This offseason, what Joe Schoen wanted to do is he wanted to avoid what happened last year with the wide receiver room. Richie James coming in, Isaiah Hodgins. Not that Hodgins is bad or anything, but they were literally picking scraps off of different rosters. And obviously, that's not a thing you really want to repeat second year in a row, trying to improve this team for Daniel Jones and the offense as a whole. So what they did, they got a lot of depth guys that have starting experience. So in my mind right now, I'm looking at these guys, 4 or 5 guys, to be on the roster pending injury come August, September 1st, whatever the cutoff date is. Paris Campbell, I'm looking for him to make the roster. I think he's impressed in camp so far, mini camp, whatever the hell you want to call it, the OTAs. I think the Giants are going to keep him. I think he's here to stay for the 1 year, and I think he's going to make a couple of nice plays. Jalen Hyatt, 3rd-round rookie, of course, he's going to be on the roster unless injury happens, and once again, I'm not wishing that on these guys. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. Sterling Shepard, I think he's going to stay either way. I know some Giant fans have some love towards him. A little bit of dissent towards him because he's been so injury-prone. I mean, how many years with the ACL injuries, the concussions? It's kind of getting a little tiring, but the New York Giants have depth, and they like this guy in the locker room, so it's something that I guess we'll have to stick by. Isaiah Hodgins, who came on the scene last year. We love Isaiah Hodgins here in Giants Nation. He's probably going to stay again. And then Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, what I will caution you with something is this, right? Sterling Shepard is coming off an ACL, and so is Wan'Dale Robinson. We don't know if those two are going to be ready for week 1. So one of those guys, both those guys, or maybe even none of those guys, right, could possibly be on PUP to start the year. And that would be the first 6 games of the season. The Giants would need a couple of guys to step up and whatnot. So Darius Slayton also could be a guy you throw in there as, okay, he's going to make the roster now. He's only a 1-year deal. The Giants will have to find reasons at some point to extend him, or not to extend him. But Brian Dable did make a comment to him during the mic'd up sessions of practice. Hey, week 1 last year, guess what? You were inactive. You've come a long way, buddy. So they like Slayton. Regardless of what we thought last year, they like Slayton. Now, let's get to the back end of the roster where the real battles are going to start to come in. Jamison Crowder was a punt returner and a starting wide receiver for the Washington Redskins, football team, Commanders, whatever the hell you want to call them. Also, the Jets and the Bills, that's where the connection comes in. I think he got injured most of last year, so he didn't really play. Bryce Ford Wheaton, wide receiver, a guy I really like that the Giants picked up off of undrafted free agency. West Virginia product. He's a taller guy, but he does have a little bit of speed. Jeff Smith, who is a former special teamer with the New York Jets. David Sills, obviously one of Daniel Jones's buddies. He's been here for a few years now, so he's going to have to battle it out for a spot either way. Jaden Mickens, who is a punt returner and a kick returner for the Jaguars and the Bucks. Malachi Polk, I believe he was with the Ravens practice squad. Khalil Pimpleton, who was with the Lions last year, was a Hard Knocks favorite. Then the Giants signed him on the practice squad, never really gave him a shot. And one of my favorites is Colin Johnson. Colin Johnson, if you guys remember last year, was impressing through camp. Daniel Jones was throwing a lot of passes to him. Tyrod Taylor was throwing a lot of passes to him. Multiple touchdowns in games. And unfortunately, the turf got him, and he tore his Achilles, I believe it was. Achilles or ACL, season-ending injury, boom, they're done. And he's still under contract. He's going to have to battle it out. And apparently, from beat reporters, he has not stopped since he came back on the scene. He's been doing everything well, catching multiple passes from different quarterbacks. So it's kind of like he hasn't missed a step since last year. Injury, obviously, in the gap between those two time periods. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I don't think it's just going to be about being a wide receiver. I think it's also going to be about special teams value, which guys can kick return, which guys can punt return, which guys can just tackle on special teams. I think that's going to be the defining value, the defining moment for these guys auditioning for 5th, 6th, and 7th wide receivers. And also, as well, injury plays a part. So that's number one. Number two is the second inside linebacker position. And this one's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of guys competing, but I only think there's 3 that are going to be in the top half of that competition. Next to Bobby Okereke, who the New York Giants signed from the Colts. He is looking to be the Mike linebacker. Now, obviously, there's going to be different signal callers. Xavier McKinney, Okereke, some other guys will obviously be thrown in there as well, so it's not just going to be one guy. But Okereke will be the Mike linebacker. Who's going to be an inside linebacker too? Now, here is the total room of inside linebackers. The Giants have a few. Darian Beavers, who's coming off of an ACL injury from last year. Gerard Davis, who played decent. I don't like him too much because he's a toss-around vet. Wasn't very good with the Lions, was not very good with the Jets. As I said, did okay last year in certain situations. I really don't like him, to be honest. I don't like his game. Micah McFadden, who I'm very intrigued for in the second year. I'm not going to say he's going to be this Pro Bowl linebacker, but I'm really intrigued for his second year. Deontay Johnson, who's a small school kid out of Toledo. Troy Brown, another undrafted free agent. Cam Brown, who's been on this team since 2020. Same with Carter Coughlin. Both can rush the passer a little bit, blitz too, mostly used for special teams. And going back to just the second spot, not backups, not special teams, but I think Darian Beavers, Gerard Davis, and Micah McFadden are the 3 main guys that are competing for that second inside linebacker position. Brown and Coughlin, they've been on this team for years. I don't think they have a real shot unless they just have this breakout training camp like nobody has ever imagined. Deontay Johnson, Troy Brown, undrafted free agents, unless they spark onto the scene like Tamon Fox, I just don't see it. And even then, Tamon Fox really was not a starter. He was more of a rotational piece. So I think it's down to Beavers. I think it's down to Davis. I think it's down to McFadden next to Bobby Okereke. So the next one, And the final one is one of the more interesting ones that I'm really looking forward to, and that is the slot cornerback position. I believe there's 3 contestants for this position during training camp. The 2 main ones are Cordell Flott, 3rd-round pick out of LSU last year, and Darnay Holmes, UCLA, 4th-round pick in 2020. But also, if you want to add in Zion Gilbert, can play in the slot as well. He is an undrafted free agent last year. I forget where he went to college. It was FAU. Went to college at FAU. So there's that. And he also got some playing time last year. But there's a lot of picks, right? You could nitpick a lot of different things about Flott and Holmes. Personally, I think Cordell Flott is a better outside corner. I think he's a better overall corner than Darnay Holmes. Darnay Holmes hasn't given up that many touchdowns at the NFL level. He's given up 1 in 3 years of playing, which is good. The bad thing is, he can't really play man coverage. That's one. Number 2 is, well, he has a lot of holding penalties. And if you guys watch that game against the Tennessee Titans, he basically led the Titans down the field for them. And listen, I'm not disrespecting Darnay Holmes in a way, oh, he's trash, blah, 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 all this and the other thing. No, he's a solid depth corner, and he'd probably fit a Patrick Graham scheme or just any other zone scheme across the NFL. Maybe he would fit maybe the Jets, because right now, until they change it, they run a zone scheme. And he's still providing good value as a slot cornerback, as a backup cornerback in this league. You look at some of the other names on the list, it's kind of interesting. Also, another name you could throw out there is Aaron Robinson. Rodarius Williams, I wouldn't really factor in because I think the New York Giants are done with him. Last year, he made some comments on Twitter, and that was pretty much the end of it until the Eagles game, which was the second game, the last game of the season where they played all the backups. But Aaron Robinson is another guy to keep in mind for that slot position. Nick McLeod, you could probably maybe finagle, but he's going to be playing safety. So you could actually just make it up to 4 guys. Cordell Flott, Holmes, Aaron Robinson, and Zion Gilbert. Now, Gilbert, obviously, in coverage last year, not that great. He did record a sack, but quarterbacks completed 7 out of 8 passes against him, 73 yards, 144.3 passer rating, and a touchdown. Aaron Robinson, now, the reason why I didn't factor him in at first before looking at the depth chart again is because coming off a season where he only played 2 games, one against the Bears, one against the Titans, and even the season beforehand, he started 2 games. Injuries have really been the story of Aaron Robinson's career, and it's a shame because I like Aaron Robinson. I do. I think he's a solid tackler. I think he's solid in coverage. I think he provides that sticky glue the Giants need. But the problem is, has way too much time passed for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll to say, look, listen, we don't know if you could be a contributor on this roster. So last year, in a small sample size, 49.3 passer rating, quarterbacks completed 2 out of 6 passes against them for 28 yards. That's not bad at all. That's actually very good. But once again, 2 games as a sample size, that's the problem. So Cordell Flott, probably a better outside corner. He's decent in the slot, but guys will give him trouble. We saw that against DJ Moore last year. Darnay Holmes, he's a slot corner in his own system. He can also do some punt returns and kick returns. I don't know that he's really good at that, though. Solid in terms of depth, but in a man system, I don't think he fits because he has the ability to grab opposing wide receivers. Zion Gilbert, solid depth. I don't know if I would take him over Aaron Robinson, which is the final guy I'll talk about. Once again, just way too many injuries. So that's why I didn't factor him in until I re-looked at the depth chart and say, oh, well, Aaron Robinson is here. He could probably play the slot if he stays healthy. So just 3 positional camp battles to look at. Obviously, there's more. I'll probably have a second video out at some point. It's going to be more of the reserve positions. But like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. More Giants content will be sprinkled in as we get closer to training camp. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. Go Big Blue. Peace.